Hello, and welcome to a Life Too Sweet podcast. My name is Dana. I am a Christian as of November 11th, 2020, and I am in awe of what is going on in our country, what is going on with Christians today, what is going on, and yes, it's crazy right now. Today is the 14th. It is Thursday of 2021, and they have impeached the president. They want to destroy him, and I'm hearing from the Christians that I know of. I went to school for coaching, and this is when I was still reading the Bible. Nothing was changing. I thought I could change the world, change others, and these people who I went to school with, and I paid some money for schooling and started my business. And these people today are talking about not talking about politics, staying out of it. My friends from the school told me the same thing. So those are the two things that really are going on in my mind, and I thought it would be kind of cool to talk about that. So thank you guys for checking out my YouTube channel as well as my podcast, A Life Too Sweet coaching podcast, and a Life Too Sweet YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm going to do with the my business of coaching. Maybe we'll change it up. I don't know, because right now we are still overcoming. God has not told me what is the next thing to do. I have no clue, other than I've been doing this and I've been enjoying doing these podcasts. And those are the two themes that have been coming up. What's happening in our country, and where are the Christians? Where are they? Right? So I belong to a mega church, and I'm going to say their name, Calvary Chapel, in Fort Lauderdale. They're in my area as well, and they aren't talking about anything. They're not fighting anything. They're not working on anything. And when I say fighting, I don't mean physically. I don't mean with anger, because once you overcome anger, you will know, because God will give you the courage and the strength as he has given our president. And if you watch our president and how he's handling all this, that's the way Christians should be handling things. But I am seeing anger on the Christian community. And since I myself had forgiven my mother, and I apologized for resenting her, because resentment is hatred, and hatred is the opposite of love, right? And so I can only have God's perfect love if I have no anger or hatred in my heart. And so I am blessed to have God in my life who is doing that for me, because I still have some things that I learned in my state of living for Satan, not knowing that I was, and my pride and my ego, and those are still taking their time. And so I get to really watch as I grow in my faith, as God makes it, he does it for me. I see what is killing the Christians. And this country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. This country was fought for religious freedoms, for God to run this country so that we could help out the world and keep the world pretty much, when we do well, Europe does well, other countries do well. And so we're falling and we're failing. And we are the children of God, and we're not acting like it. And so I'm going to be honest, many people in the church are not. They try to be. When I was in church, I tried to get rid of my anger. I went to recovery programs. It didn't work. I prayed. I asked God, why am I angry? How do I live in the Spirit? I listened to people who talk about living in the Spirit. I had a sponsor, and I told her that I didn't trust God. And she said, you don't trust him. That's what she would say. You don't trust God. And then I would be like, no, I don't. How do I trust him? You just trust him. How do you just trust him? It didn't make any sense, and it didn't work. It never worked. And so the truth really, for me, and what I've seen in others who have returned back to God, it's that only he can do it. We can't do anything. Nothing. I can do nothing of myself. And as I'm taking my time and being still and knowing and taking my time and doing a very silent prayer where I do not speak, I'm getting a lot of revelation and I'm seeing what's going on, like the truth is in me and the truth is so obvious. And I know I have to endure what I see, but we will lose this country and God will allow it to happen. He will, and he will. And I do believe that us as God's children need to do what he has planned for us to do and whatever that is for you. And I heard today, it starts in the home. Like, what can we do? And I've been asking this question, and I felt like it was in my head, so I really felt it was coming from Satan. But because I want to do something, and Satan, it loves to tell me, you can do it, Dana. You could tell people what they need to hear and stuff. And I know that that is not true. I know that he is a liar, and the truth is not in him. He's all about lies. He's all about setting me up. And so I heard today, starts with myself. It starts with who I am and looking at myself and seeing where I fall short and allowing God to make the change for me. Because if I think I can do it, nothing happens, right? I can say for me, and maybe, you kind of look at this. Think about all the times you tried to make a change. You tried to have self-control, right? Maybe you changed your diet. Me, I changed my diet. For 2.5 years, I was eating clean. And I've been not eating clean again. And I'm trying. I'm blaming this. Oh, it was when I started keto. And it's when and I'm making excuses so that I can feel better about myself. And that's exactly what Satan does. Satan's like, oh, it's because of this and it's because of this. And I still keep eating the things that I don't want to eat. Right? I'm unable to stop. I cannot do anything on my own. And so until I realized that, I could make no change. And that's really the truth. Only God can do it, because I've seen many people come and go in all different recovery programs. Okay. I started out in my late 20s and I'm in my 40s now. And I started seeing people in these recovery programs, and I would go in and out. And I saw a guy who I remembered years ago when I was really young, okay? And he used to always wear this blue tank top, and he would always come in with a really interesting attitude. And I always saw it. He would sit there like, and I now today know it was pride, and he thinks he's better than because he's had time clean, right? Time clean. That was his God. If I stay clean and do not do drugs or do not drink, whatever his issue was, he's better than the others who don't. That was his claim to fame. That was his God. And I didn't know that at the time, but I saw something kind of odd with that. So years later, I ended up going into the wrong meeting, and he was there, and I saw him. He was wearing the same blue tank top that he always wore. And I have to say, this is about 20 years later. Okay. And I sit there, and of course he shares and he talks, and I know he's talking about me. Saying, and he didn't know that I had been around for a while. I just was going to different types of meetings and stuff. And he didn't know I'd been back around for a few years. And he made a statement. Oh, I see people coming in and out, and I've been doing this for so many years. And I'm thinking, the guy still looks unhappy. His face was like, he looked old. He looked unhappy. The way he was speaking was unhappy. You could tell he was angry. He was frustrated. And it was just like sitting in there, it made me realize, like, looking back at all these things, we feel good about ourselves, but we don't change. No change. The man said the same thing he's been saying for 20 years. He has not grown an inch. He has not grown an inch. But because he's clean, he feels good. And I'm not saying this because I want to go against the person. I'm not saying this because I'm angry about it. This is just the fact that you can see the proof that we cannot change ourselves. I'm seeing people that I know that have been Christians saying for 20 years, and they're on medication. Secular medications, right? Medications don't come from God. A lot of these, like psychiatric medicines, they're all from science. Well, science says this, and then you take this, and then you take that. And us as Christians are doing the same things. We're living in the world and of the world. And these things don't really make full sense. And these are all things to say, let me look at why am I doing everything that the church is telling me, my pastors are telling me, my friends are telling me, people that have been as Christians for years, and they're talking to me like they know something and I know nothing. And this is how they're talking to me. So I'm thinking, wow, these people must know. But they never gave me an answer to help me. Never. Nothing ever helped. Nothing. I was the same person. And the weird thing was I noticed my anger was getting worse. It was getting worse. And I'm like, I'm in recovery. What the heck? Because what happened was I had no desire to do the other issue that I had, but then the anger was coming out. And it was like one addiction to another addiction, you know? And that was a story of my life. It was a story of my childhood to my adulthood, and it never changed. And it was like this vicious cycle. And then after a while, I said, well, that's just what it's like being a human being, because many people are that way. But now that I realize that there's a straight and narrow path that's very, very thin, that it talks about in the Bible. I think it's like 2 in 10,000 will take the straight and narrow path. And I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot more of those than that in the churches, but nobody's changing. And I remember my mom saying that the worst people that I know are Christians. And she's really adamant about this. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they're just not good Christians. They're not trying hard enough. That's what I was thinking. Well, they're not trying hard enough. If I have a God, really, a God who can do all things, who gives his spirit inside me, how come I can't live like Jesus did? Because Jesus talks about, I died so you can live like me. If as I'm reading the Bible today, and as I'm being revealed, like things are being revealed to me, I know that I'm just like Jesus. Like, I'm a daughter of God. He's a son of God. I'm a daughter of God. It's like he's trying to represent the sons of God on this earth. I came, died, conquered the death so you don't have to, so you can live. And meaning live doesn't mean once I drop my body. It's live. You can live here. He died already. He suffered so that we don't have to suffer. And now the thing is, when we live in the world, we come up with really bad things, like things that are just not good for us, right? Addictions, pride, ego, anger, fear, the ego tells us we're better. The ego tells me, I'm going to tell you what you should do. And that's what Satan's been doing, right? Satan really is the ego. And so as my ego starts to die, I can start seeing God, because it's like the voices in my head are the ego, is the Satan, and the spirits he put in me. And then there's the silent, that revelation that happens, that comes from God. And as I die like Jesus died, I actually can live. And it says that in the Bible, right? Doesn't it say that? That you have to die to live? You have to give up everything. And the thing is, you're giving up everything that's not even good for you. That's the coolest part about it. I'm giving up my pride and ego. And I'm going to be honest with you. For some reason, my pride and ego just don't want to go away easy. I still hear Satan in my voice saying, oh, you need to tell them this, and you need to tell them this, and you need to go to work and tell everybody about God, and you need to go to work and tell everybody about how evil the left is. And it's like, yeah, he wants me to get destroyed. He wants me to be destroyed because he sees the good in me. He knows he's about to lose control, and he can win if I don't endure, if I don't relax, if I don't be still and know my voice. My children will know by my voice. And I know, but the ego is so hard. It's an easy process, but my ego keeps wanting to say, nah. I think this part is me, right? This voice is Dana, right? I mean, it sounds like me, And so, that's all the little different things I'm going through. And as I'm going through this, and I'm watching where our country goes, and I'm listening to Christians telling me and telling people and putting it on their Facebooks to not talk about politics, that is crazy. That is crazy. And that's why it's really important that we return back to God, because he will show us what to do. Instead of, me going to a school where some woman tells me, Dana, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to talk. And and almost like shaming me and shaming the people who are posting on their Instagrams or Facebooks and social medias about what is going on in our country. That is crazy to me. That, like, Satan was already in my head going, I can't believe you got to say this to her. You got to say that to her, And the thing about enduring is not getting upset, not getting angry as the people who stormed into the Capitol, because you're not helping. You're not helping Trump. You're not helping the one man that had the power, and he still has the power because he has God with him. But he was so high up that we are so blessed to have him, and then others are going to go and set up what they're setting up. And new information has come out from the New York Times about how this has been almost like a setup, and a lot of different things going on. And it was actually in a lot of Democrats were talking about this because there's an investigation going on, and when I watch people get angry that are on the side of good, like they can see some good, but they don't have God, because they wouldn't do that with God. You won't do the things you did before when you have God. And I'm going to give you an example. So like thou shalt not steal, right? Well, I had this incident, okay? So I go to Target and I like to buy these tank tops. And I usually check out sometimes the size medium and sometimes the large size fits me. So I bought the medium. I come home and I see that there's an extra small in there too. And I'm thinking, oh, they must have charged me for both of these. They were stuck together. So I returned them. I didn't have the receipt. I don't ever keep the receipts, but you can use your Target card. You can put the Target card in there. So, or whatever card you use. If you use, American Express, whatever you use, right? Bank card, whatever. Put my card in there, and it shows that was not in there. That didn't come up. And the lady said, oh, this didn't come up. I said, oh, well, then they must have put that in there with it. So you just take that. No thought. No thought at all. And even though, let me go back a little bit, even when I noticed I had that there, I was like, I wonder if they charged me for that, because I wouldn't have bought that. So I thought those two things. Now, once I told her that, she said, oh, you can return it, but you'll have to get store credit. I said, oh, no. I said, I didn't pay for it because it would be on the card. That's when I bought it. And she's like, really? Most people would have just returned it and got the store credit. I said, oh, no. And I'm thinking, did I just say that? Because normally what I would do is I would think about it. And then I'd say, well, that goes against God, right? You see, because I learned about God. So I knew that, well, I can't steal because I'm not allowed to steal, because it says it in the book that I shouldn't steal. And I believe in that book. That's my God today. So I won't steal. That's the process I normally go through. This was just like, oh, no. And it was so interesting. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Normally I go through that. Like, like a normal person, like a average person who's an intellectual would say, should I do this? And either they're going to go, well, I deserve it because, they charge too much, right? That's one thought. And then the other thought would be, well, God would say not to do that, and that's more of a worldly thought, right? Because you think first about it, because Satan is in your head saying, well, this is what I'm going to tell you, let's think about it. Let's logically think about it. But no logic. It was just, I knew that was it. And it was interesting. Right after it happened, I'm walking into the store going, wow, I can't believe I just did that. That was so interesting. And so it really reminds me of how God is, he's silent. His voice is silent. He just, like I said before, I don't know if I said this in the last podcast, but he just downloads the information in, it's just a quick download and you don't even know that you got the download. And then one day you're just like, wow, I think this way. And it's really like a download. It's not like somebody told me this and I'm thinking about it and I'm analyzing it. It's just a quick download. And Satan is the one, he's going to analyze it in your head. He's going to say, well, maybe you should do this first. And then, then you do this, then you do that. And then when it doesn't come true, then you're a mess. That's how Satan works. And you can test this. I would encourage you to test listening to the voice in your head and watch what it does to you. Watch how it brings you up, it brings you down. Watch how it deceives you. watch how it pretends it's God. It plays God just like the devil does. It's like so crazy. Now that I read Bible verses here and there or something, or somebody will bring up a Bible verse, I'll understand it. And I never understood it before. Like, I never understood, like, they know not what they do, what Jesus said. They don't know what they do because the devil's telling them what to do and they have no clue. They don't know what they do. They think they're doing right? Like the other verse says, I want to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out, right? I want to do what's good. I want to not steal, but I couldn't carry it out. But with God, I can. And so everything makes sense. All those questions I had, nobody had an answer for. I'm thinking, yeah, perfect love drowns out fear. I'm in fear all the time, And I was able to curtail it a little bit, but then when the big things will come, I couldn't handle it. And so today I'm learning how to handle those things. Well, God has shown me, but some of them are harder than others because I'm listening to. And it's only because I'm listening to Satan. It's only because of my pride and my ego. It has nothing to do with God. There's no process in it. It's there. It's just I'm listening to the voices in my head when it comes to politics, and I'm getting a little upset. But last night when I did my silent prayer right before it, I said, I'm going to focus today on knowing that every thought is a lie, because I was still trying to fight that, and I was like, well, sometimes Satan will tell me something that happened yesterday and that was true. Or he'll say something that somebody said that I was like, that's so true. I'm like, that's true. But the truth is, today, right now, is happening. Tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen. It's not here. It's not even here. It's not. It could be not, it may not be, right? And yesterday already happened. It's done. It's over with. It is not happening now. And so God is in the now. Remember, with our past, he gets rid of our past. He doesn't see the past, right? He gets rid of that. He forgives, and boom, it's over. Your past is done. And if he forgets it, why can't you forget it? Why can't I forget it? Why does it have to be relevant? Why is it relevant? Well, it's not, but it's relevant to Satan. It's relevant to Satan because now that I know God's voice is in the present. It happens right then and there. Like that, when that happened with me talking to that lady at Target and doing what I did, that happened at that very moment. It didn't happen before. It wasn't, I knew it the minute I did it. It was like, wow, I know what I'm doing, Or when I told the girl, and I talked in another podcast about telling that girl that I was like, wow, I love her. It happened right then in the moment, the voice of God. There you go. Right. And to be honest, that right there just kind of hit me right when I said it, because he is in the presence. And, I heard these things, but I didn't understand them. And when I hear something today, I'm working on just letting it go in and out. Don't hold on to it, because what you say and what I say, and I would suggest you don't listen to exactly what I'm saying. Check it out for yourself. Find out who you are for yourself. And then you can know for sure. Because when I was reading the Bible, I wasn't sure. Do you notice that? Think about that too. When you're reading the Bible, you're trying to analyze it and figure it out. But you don't just get a revelation. That's what it means. Do you get those? Ask yourself that question. These are questions that I never asked. I just listened to whatever the preacher told me, whatever my sponsor told me, even though I knew it didn't make sense. But I can't have faith. I'm trying to have faith. I'm trying to live in the spirit, but I can't do it. Why not? I asked those questions, but I kind of gave them up. I gave up. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, she's saying it. It must be true. I mean, I must be just able to do it on my own. And, but God will show you. God wasn't showing me nothing. And it's because I was judging. I had anger. And I was the judge as well as the executioner to people, right? And that's what we're going through right now with all this presidential stuff. The Democratic Party that is in there, that is doing what they're doing to Trump, are playing God. They are saying, we are going to punish you for your sins. And we're going to tell you what your sins are, and we're going to punish you. Who does that? That's God. God punishes us for our sins. Nobody else is the executioner but God. And I would say that is blasphemy, I would say. I think that might be the blasphemy against God. That's my own thought here, but I see what's happening in our country, and I just really hope that us as Christians wake up. Wake up. And the only way I woke up was returning back to God, was forgiving my earthly parents. I knew that I had to forgive my mom, and I knew that for me. Now, you may need to forgive your father. You may find out for yourself. Look at yourself. Why are you angry? Why are you angry? What is keeping you playing God? What was keeping me playing God? And it was my anger, and I knew it. I knew it. 100% I knew it. And God because he saw my heart. He saw that I was going, and he was dragging me, bringing me in, and he brought me to somebody, Jesse Lee Peterson, who said, "You're angry, and you're probably angry at your mother for taking you away from your father." And I'm thinking, what? That's exactly what I've been saying. Slowly, and I've been using worldly stuff like codependency. Oh, this one has codependency and control issues. And I didn't know that all these words were the woman is fallen, and unfortunately she believed Satan, so she has Satan's nature. And the man fell away from God, right? Adam fell away from God because he's the son of God. Remember that they're connected to God, and we are connected to the man. God in Christ, which is the Son, would be our Father. The Son over the woman, the Father over the woman, which would be our mothers, and then the women over children. And what happened was when Adam went away from his father, the woman became his God. And we can see that. We can see that where the man he needs the woman like sexually, and he goes to her, and then he can't handle her because the Satan is anger, Satan is control, Satan is ego, right? And it wasn't our mother's fault. It's not our father's fault. It's because they had the same problems too. Their parents did the same things probably to them. And then we separate and we get further away from God. And now we have that nature of Satan. And so I can't be angry at my mother because she didn't know what she was doing. Just like my father didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know he couldn't handle my mother. He didn't understand that he was angry because of that. He had anger because probably whatever happened with his family. And each of us have to figure out what went wrong and what we're angry at, because we are not able to play God. Right? We can't play God. That is the biggest sin, playing God. And that's exactly what Satan does. So every time I play God, I know that that's Satan, right? Every time I'm hearing that voice telling me, oh, these people are evil. Okay, you see that. God shows me that. But this is what you need to do. You need to make sure that they never come back. Or whatever it is. If it's anger, oh, I'm going to hurt them, right? Storm the Capitol building. Anger. Because, and the funny thing is, I said this too. Before I forgave, I was saying, the right is going to get angry because I started noticing some of the people that were kind of hidden in the background on the far right, the angry right people, they were starting to come out a little bit. And I started noticing, and I said, it's going to get bad on both sides. It's not a right or left thing. It's an anger thing. And that's kind of when I started realizing what anger could do. And I could see the anger because it was riling up. And people were talking about that too. A lot of different people were talking about that, but not getting to the full issue of why they're angry. And that's the thing. We never get to the bottom of the issue, being a spiritual issue. We take these outer issues. We make words up. It's because of racism. It's because white supremacy. It's because of power. This person is, makes a lot of money. It's the one that makes a lot of money. It's the one that has 2 businesses, 3 businesses. It's the big churches, it's the church's fault. It's the the men's fault. Whatever we want to blame, and make excuses. And that's what we do. We make excuses for what the real issue is. And that's where you get the psychologists in. That's where you get the experts, right? That's where, okay, we're going to do some research. We're going to go in and we're going to do research. And we're going to take this many people to do this and this many people to do that. And now we find one of the symptoms. And then we find another symptom. And we find another symptom. And we're all into this intellectual while we're angry, fearful, and resentful. We're over here when the real issue's over here and the devil's got you over here. I'll keep them over here in anger and fear. And yeah, let them do their little, there's little tricks they want to do, and let them feel good about themselves for a while. They'll come up with this big idea and they'll put it out and say it over and over and over again. And now people will believe it and they'll get angry, and Satan's got you. You're done. You're so far over to the right, and the things that are happening in front of you, you have no clue what's going on because you're researching what happened 10 years ago, instead of the knowledge of what's going on with you at that moment. And that's exactly what Satan does. That's exactly what evil does. It's very interesting to see. I'm going to be honest. This has been the most interesting few months of my life to really see truth and really see what's going on in the world, and sitting out back and watching it happen in front of my eyes. It is so crazy. And some of it I could watch and not be a part of. I could just see it and be like, okay, this is what's going on in the world, But then some of it I still haven't overcome. And a lot of it is the politics. And I notice today has been a little bit better. And I'll say, I believe it's because I realize that I have to overcome it. And I have to allow God to do the work. And the only way to have God do the work is to know that it's wrong. To know that it's wrong, but not judge myself for it. Because when I judge, I'm playing God, right? I'm not the judge, remember? I'm not the judge. Democrats are not the judge. Republicans are not the judge. God is the judge. He judges us. And I'm playing that judge role because of my ego. And so I have to watch it, allow it to happen, and not try to control it and say, okay, well, tomorrow when I go to work, or today when I go to work, I'm going to say this when the person says that. That's not of God. I have to endure when somebody comes up to me and says something. I have to not just listen. Don't react. Be still and know. And wait for God's silent voice. And wait for God to do his thing and let him speak for me. So interesting things going on. God is in control, but we do play a role. We don't just sit back in the churches, praise God, and do nothing. That's not what it is, right? Did our founding fathers just sit there and praise God and go in the churches and go, hey, I love Jesus, I love Jesus. Let's go feed the poor. No, they didn't just do that. They fed the poor knowledge. They fed the poor knowledge, understanding of what's going on and how to fight it. Jesus went and fought it. Trump is going and fighting it. And he's fighting it without anger, without fear, without resentment. I mean, just take your time and really look at how Trump handles it. Have you ever seen a man handle things? And then go look back at Jesus and how he handled things. And how when people would come at him, he would just speak to them. He wouldn't yell at them. He wouldn't scream at them. He would talk to them. And with poise, right? I was thinking when I used to read about him, I'm like, he makes no sense to me. When he talks, I can't even relate anything. And I'm supposed to be his sister. How do I'm a daughter of God and he's the son of God and I can't understand who he is? How do I understand God? How did I not think about that? You know what I mean? Sometimes I think about I really didn't ask any questions. I just believed what people told me. And even in the beginning of this transformation and change, I just listened to what this guy told me at first. And I started realizing, I'm like, he kept saying, don't listen to what I say. Do not have a teacher. And I'm like listening to what he says and almost believing it. And there were some things I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. And then after a while, there would be like, oh, I get it. And there's some things that I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. But I almost want to take on what this person says to me. And I noticed that I do it. And I've always noticed I did it. But I would stop asking questions. I stopped asking questions because I was feeling better in other areas of my life. Because Satan was like, well, I'll make sure you don't go and live this lifestyle. I'll keep you away from the real dark, what you felt was dark. And I'll put you into a different darkness that doesn't seem as dark, but you're still going to be blind. Okay, I'll take you away, make you feel good. That's what Satan does. Feel good. God doesn't make you feel good. You don't have feelings like that. You know it's wrong when it's wrong. You know it's right when it's right. And you know what to do. And that I'm starting to get glimpses of. Small glimpses of. Because I'm in my head still. And that's all that ego. It's so interesting, so amazing to see. And I really, really hope that this podcast helps people to see themselves, learn who they are, find out if you're unhappy where you're at. If you're going to church every Sunday and nothing's changing, right? You walked up to the altar, you claim Jesus is Lord, you pray, and he doesn't answer your prayers, but the devil answers your prayers. Or you're listening to the voices in your head and they're not making any sense. And some of the things I'm saying kind of make sense. Just look at yourself, kind of look at yourself and ask those questions that maybe you didn't ask before. And maybe find out, why am I not getting better? Ask that question. Because when I asked God, why can't I live in the Spirit when I'm supposed to have the Spirit in me? And why am I angry as a Christian? Why am I not getting any better? When I asked those questions, I started getting some answers. And God was pulling me in until I was ready to hear Jesse Lee Peterson say what he said to me. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to forgive her right now. And that's when everything changed. That's it. That's when everything changed. So, as I wind down, I just want to say that one thing that really did help a little bit for me to calm down, because my brain keeps going a mile a minute, and I always had a lot of anxiety. What I did was I did this silent prayer. It's on Jesse Lee Peterson's YouTube page. There's one I liked podcast, and it was Be Still and Know. And that one's cool because he has you put your hands in prayer, and that really helps to focus. It really helps to focus me. And so I would, maybe my voices in my head would get a little bit quieter and I would be calmer. And I had that perfect peace that Jesus talked about, and what love is and stuff. And I started really getting that feeling right away. The first few times I did it, it really helped, even before I forgave. So I would suggest looking into that and just asking yourself some questions. Did I ask myself these questions? Because I never did ask these questions. And it's funny because when I listen to Jesse Lee Peterson ask the questions he asks, I'm like, wow, I never got asked this question before. And I never asked this question to myself. Or I've asked myself this question, but I never got the answer. Or I got answers and nothing changed. And it was really interesting, these questions that I was answering. I'd never thought of this before. It was really interesting, and really got me to see myself. And also I hope that another thing to try, I would say, listening to your thoughts and see where they go, and see that they're not your own, and you'll be so surprised. Oh my God, it is crazy. It is so interesting. Real interesting stuff going on in our world, and I just get to witness it. And it's so interesting. It is so interesting. Oh my gosh. It's awesome to see too. I'm going to be honest with you. It's really cool to see. I mean, if you like truth, if you're a truth seeker, once God reveals the truth to you, it's like, what? Oh my God. Really, really. You'll look at it so different. You won't have anger, and you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to truly look at people and really know who they are. You'll know the Christians. You'll know by their fruits. It's like, you'll know. It's just knowledge. It's not, well, this person probably is a Christian. This one, I don't, you know what I'm saying? But you're like, oh God, watch out for that one. That one's Satan. It's crazy. And then the hardest part and the most exciting part at the same time was realizing that I was not myself. That was so interesting, but amazing. Totally mind-blowing craziness. I have to make up new words for all this stuff. Like I said, you can't put this stuff in words. You can't put God in a box. You can't put God in the whole world. It's so crazy. So I've been going on here for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to end this podcast. And like I said, ask yourself these questions. Really ask yourself these questions. Try to sit silently and listen to God. Be still and know. Just be silent and listen to God. That's it. Don't listen to yourself. Don't listen to your voices in your head. And I guarantee you're going to see some craziness if you want. If you're searching, if you're happy being in control, thinking you're in control, if you're really happy, then stay. Because I know a lot of people are going to. Because they want to be in control. Or they want to think they're in control. And that's what's happening in our political spectrum right now. So just look at it. Watch it. Endure it. Be calm. Be relaxed. And allow it to happen. Because we have no control over it. But we get to see it. And we get to be part of God's plan, whatever it is, for our lives. And find out who we truly are, because I'm learning who I am. Little by little by little by little. And I'm starting to have faith that I never thought I could have. But I'm not doing it myself. He's doing it. It's so awesome. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing gift to be a Christian. It's an amazing responsibility to be a Christian. It's an amazing life. Without fear, without anger, without resentment, we can live on this side of heaven. We can live as Jesus did. And as Jesus does in heaven, we get to live that here. We die here, and we live here. So I hope you guys do that. I really, really hope we can get a few more Christians so that we can get in government. Real Christians like Trump. That is a man. You won't see that. You won't see that often. But we want to see that often. We want to change everything because God wants to reverse it all. He wants to put it back in order, and he's going to keep having more children until we maybe switch it. I don't know what his full plan is, but he keeps having us make babies, and more babies. And maybe we can turn this place around and have God back in control instead of Satan running our country. Woo, craziness. Okay, guys, like I said, over 40 minutes. I thank you guys for checking out my YouTube channel, A Life Too Sweet. Please subscribe. I don't get nobody subscribing. Come on, man, subscribe. Subscribe, hit the little bell. When I get a new one, you get a notification. Every Monday, I put up my podcast at 10 a.m. Also, A Life Too Sweet coaching podcast. That is on most major podcast sites. And Podbean is my hosting site. So if you go on there, you can get all of them as well. I am so excited for what's going to happen today and what's going to happen in the world and when I get to watch it. So let's enjoy life. Let's return back to God. Let's get our country back. Christians, wake up. And remember, God is good all the time. I will see you guys in the next podcast. And thank you again for your subscriptions and your love and your listening to my podcast. You have a good one, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.